I am not surprised that this happened. I expected this to happen. My official, I don't know what you say, call it a prediction, right? For anybody who was on the betting markets using me on your poly market odds or whatever, I thought that we were most likely going to bomb. And the reason that I thought it was most likely that we were going to bomb Iran is that the Iranians did not show any public messaging towards compromise. They did not look like they were preparing the people towards compromise on denuclearization. And while there was some signals from the Trump administration that he talked about, oh, we're making progress, to be completely honest, if the only source you have for we're making progress on negotiations is Donald Trump, that's not a good marker. It's not a good marker because he says we're making progress on everything all the time, at all moments, 100% of the way. And we're oh so close to a peace deal. We're oh so close to a trade deal. We're oh so close to figuring this out. We're talking to the Chinese, then the Chinese deny. So it's when we take progress on negotiations and our source is Donald Trump, or maybe even an Iranian government that has a motivation to keep these talks going on, I mean, it wasn't, to me, it wasn't enough. I wanted to hear details of an agreement. I wanted to hear details of what was, being pushed forward. And maybe in the years to come, that's what we're going to learn, as this is an extremely historic moment that's happening right now. We're bombing Iran. They're going to respond in some manner in the Middle East. I am pretty positive of that. How strong that response will be is going to be dependent upon the Iranians measuring how much response they're willing to bear from the United States when they're still continuing to go back and forth with Israel. And irrespective of what the United States does next, I don't think the Israelis are done bombing Iran, and I don't think the Iranians are done bombing Israel. So they only have so many resources to throw around, especially with their munitions being targeted. So are they going to choose to go forward and bomb American military bases? Kill American soldiers, and then when there are deaths on the board, when Americans are in the ground, how is the American president going to respond when he has bodies on his airstrike that was not confirmed or approved by Congress? There was no congressional review. This was a decision completely, I think, that doesn't align with the principles of the War Powers Act, irrespective of what the AUMF might say. I'm sorry, the AUMF has been used and abused to such disgusting degrees. Now, irrespective of whether or not you think the strike was a good idea, we'll talk about that in a second. No congressional review. Donald Trump just decided we're bombing Iran because this has to do with our war on terror post 9/11. We were attacked on 9/11, therefore we have to bomb the Iranian nuclear program. That's the forward chain here, okay? The president of the United States gets to bomb the Iranian nuclear program because 9/11. That's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense that the president gets to unilaterally declare that. And the reason I want to make this warning right now is because, say, it's the Iranian nuclear program. The Iranians are in a particularly weak spot right now. I am not of the belief that they're going to push every American base into the sea. Okay, you're about to see the biggest amount of flags get raised in Iran. Okay, you thought one red flag was bad. They're going to put up 2, 3, 4, 5 red flags. It's going to be crazy. But this is the thing. The Iranians can respond however it is to this. It could be no response, and Donald Trump is seen as the foreign policy mastermind of the future. If Donald Trump can at any point declare anything a terrorist organization and then bomb it off of the AUMF, what is stopping him from going through Mexico and just bombing any drug cartel he wants, because he calls it a war on terror? We're being invaded by the MS-13. He's constantly talking about the foreign invader. He's trying to use that to push forward the Alien Enemies Act and its use right now. And through that logic, why would he not use this same logic to bomb these cartels? Yeah, that's good. So we have a small staff here today at Dylan Burns TV, because I'm hanging out with some buddies and they're also following the news. So we're getting a few news inflows. Anyway, I just wanted to start this stream just by going in, and I'm sorry to immediately get political, okay? During this stream about a war, okay? Sorry to get political during this stream about a war, but the AOMF, once again, horribly abused here. I'm not even, like, there's a non-zero chance, well, even more than non-zero chance, that if this was put before Congress, they would have still voted to approve it. So it's all I'm asking is that Donald Trump does not have at any point the unilateral authority to declare something a terrorist organization and then bomb it with no congressional oversight. I'm just saying that having that power in the hand of any president, let alone Donald Trump, seems like something that could be abused. I know that there's a certain amount of days if you're committing American troops to the ground, but we're not talking about committing American troops to the ground. We're talking about a bombing operation that could kill American troops in the region that are stationed in Iraq, that are stationed across the region, in Jordan. Politics in my war stream, I know, right? Crazy. Crazy. Politics in a war stream. Live, we've got a few TV stations over here. I think, what is that, KSA News? We've got a few TV stations on the big screen here. We're in a gigantic studio. We have a 20 to 30 person staff here, and this is still the production quality. Can you imagine that? I'm looking at it over there. Oh, snap. Stuff is burning. Wow, I'm sorry. Everything's coming in so quickly, so I'm just trying to figure out. I see a live camera right now. Is that Iran? Is that Tehran? Yes, that's Tehran. That's Fordo. Never mind. It's not Tehran. That's Fordo. I thought they were showing a live feed of Tehran. I'm fearful that the bomb campaign is going to be more expansive than just the atomic sites. But yeah, no. Looking at the facility right now, it is on fire, burning. Oh my goodness. Can we get that link so I can show it on stream? Discord. Okay. My goodness. My goodness. So what we're looking at right now that we've gotten my AOMF objections out of the way, got my politics out of the way during our war segment, this is the main atomic facility for the Iranians. This is the facility that is, I believe, the one that is dug into the earth, that was supposed to be extremely difficult to attack, dug into a mountainside, if I remember correctly, from what I had read. And Americans had been requested by the Israelis to go in there and blow this up because the Israelis don't have B-2 bombers. They wanted B-2 bombers. They asked the United States for B-2 bombers, but we didn't give it to them, probably because we always wanted the ability to have some asset we could dangle over them because it's, international geopolitics, and giving them our entire arsenal would not be, supportive of our, negotiated interests. Anyway, point is, we have the big boom, they have the little boom, and they needed the big boom to go out and take out the atomic facility. And so they had been trying to convince the United States to do that. Sorry, I'm getting like more information on Discord Sienna. Okay, got you. So they had been trying to convince the United States to do that. They were like, come on, go in, bomb it, big bomb right now. But Trump had said publicly he wanted to continue negotiations. I never thought negotiations were going to work. And the reason I didn't think negotiations were going to work, that's not to say that they didn't have any chance of success. But ever since about, I would say, 25 to 30 days ago, I thought it was done. And the reason why is that on one hand, you had the Israelis who, from their point of view the idea of an atomic Iran as an existential threat. There's no chance they could accept an Iran with nuclear weapons because they are a country with such small land area, and the Iranians, being a nation of 92 million people, much more populous nation, that's continuing to dedicate resources to Hezbollah, continuing to dedicate resources to the Houthis, continuing to dedicate resources to all these different places. I got the update. It makes them look as a threat that wants to, of course, push Israel into the ocean. And if they have atomic weapons, maybe they have now the power to do that. The disincentive for the Iranians, of course, is they have atomic weapons, the Israelis. They will blow up Tehran. They will blow up these places. The Israelis will not think twice if they're going to get nuked about using every atomic weapon they have against the Iranians. So that's not to say that if Iran was to get a nuclear weapon, the Middle East would just blow up as the ways that in the way that the Israelis showed it. Or what the Israelis didn't say just the Middle East. They said the UK, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Russia, which I mean, look, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. All these different places in the world were gonna blow up. That's just not true. The difference would be Iran would have a lot more negotiating power now in the Middle East, and the same way the United States has to kind of tacitly accept that North Korea has an atomic weapons program.
Parker gave Mr_SquarePeg a tier 1 subscription. Dylan short, Danabo said so it's canon to the lore.
Danabo's gonna love you guys with these donations that need to be edited out. Thank you. It's Danabo. You can say thank you directly to fake Kyle Parker. Thank you for tier 1 sub though. I appreciate it. Where was I? Oh my God. You fucking piece of shit. I hate you. I hate when people give me money. Don't give me money. Give money to good, reputable journalists like Jackson Hinkle or Scott Ritter, who I'm sure right now is giving the most reasonable takes you could find on the interwebs. My goodness. Could you imagine being somebody in a moment like this? They're like, oh my God, Iran's being bombed. Please, somebody get me Scott Ritter. I must know what the diddler thinks. Oh my God. So they saw from the Israeli perspective, they see it as an existential threat. They weren't going to accept it. And so their campaign was going to continue. And from every statement I saw from an Israeli government official, they were saying negotiations will not work. We don't want to negotiate. We don't want to negotiate. We don't want to negotiate. The Hezbollah just had their teeth kicked in. Hamas is like half dead in the Gaza Strip. That's not to say they're literally about to be wiped off the face of the earth, but they're not in a position to march on Tel Aviv. Assad's dead. Okay, he's not dead. Okay, I know the Syrians have a different perspective of how that should go, but then Assad. But he is not currently dead, but his regime is dead, and it's gone and replaced with a government that, at the very least, has to tacitly accept Israel's existence because he cannot fight Israel at the moment, right? The Houthis are the only organization that is going to be able to continue to fire rockets at Israel and like harass like random sailors and like take them hostage for the Gazan children somehow. But like besides that, there's not many other resources to launch against Israel. So what are they supposed to be scared of? That the PMF militias in Iraq are going to march on Tel Aviv? No. So all they have to be fearful of now is Houthi rockets and direct responses from Iran. And what did they do? They already have launched a massive campaign against the Iranians. They've already disabled the Tomcats on the air bases. They've already disabled much of their air defense systems. They've destroyed a lot of their munitions that they're throwing at Israel. Now, that's not to say that the original, like, oh my God, they've disabled the vast majority of Iranian air assets. This assessment at the start is accurate. A lot of those early assessments ended up not being so true, and we're seeing that the Iranians are getting through. We're seeing Israeli military installations getting hit. We're seeing Israeli hospitals getting hit. We're seeing Israeli civilian infrastructure getting hit. So obviously, Iranians, through oversaturation with their drones and with ballistic missiles that they still retain, are being able to penetrate Israeli air defenses, despite the fact that they've taken such, and I'm just going to be blunt here, such a beating, such a shellacking on a major level. The Ayatollah is getting shellacked. And in this moment, I wanted to read a statement from the Ayatollah because I believe that his words of wisdom can be of use right now. One second. Where is this? Ah, yes, here it is. I want to make sure we understand the perspective of those in Tehran. This is from 2013. I went to school with a cloak since first days. It was uncomfortable to wear it in front of other kids, but I tried to make up for it by being naughty and playful. Khomeini, September 24th, 2013. By the way, that footage from Fordo that was being showed by Al Hadif, that was fake. Welcome to Arabic television. 3 days old, too. It happens all the time. All the time. Welcome to Arabic TV. Here's the quote. Residential cities near Fordo plant heard explosions, Iranian state media reports. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Yeah, they heard explosions. I can imagine. GOP Representative Thomas Massey criticizes U.S. strikes on Iran nuclear facilities as several lawmakers praise Trump. Well, Thomas Massey was always going to be against it. He's actually, he introduced legislation to the House with Ro Khanna to reintroduce the War Powers Act. Like, say, hey, look, Congress should be regarded in attacks like this that could bring American servicemen and women into harm's way and could reasonably start war with an enemy nation. If we're going to Pearl Harbor some country, that's not to say that, I mean, like, you know, this is the same dynamics of Pearl Harbor, whatever. But if we're going to do a strike that by some nations would be seen as, you know, such a major, including Iran, a major infringement on their sovereignty, something that could be seen easily as an act of war, why is Congress not being regarded? Thomas Massey is one of the few Republicans in the House that continues to stand somewhat principled on this, even if on most issues, I would say he is a cuckoo. But, you know, besides that, he's right on this. You know, sometimes if somebody's crazy enough, you know, broken clock. Here we go. This is from Democratic Representative Sarah Jacobs of California. Trump's strikes against Iran are not only unconstitutional, but an escalation that risks bringing the U.S. into another endless and deadly war. Representative Andy Harris from Maryland. He's one of I think our only Republican congressman from the state. I don't know if that's changed recently. Peace through strength. Peace through strength. Now ask Andy Harris how that applies to Ukraine.
Morally corrupt.
Changes his little tone a little bit, you know? Peace through strength. Unless we're dealing with the Russians, then I don't know. Then like footsie under the table, that tends to work. A nuclear-armed Iran endangers America, Israel, and the entire free world, Harris said. The U.S. took decisive action to destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities, protecting American lives, our allies, and global stability. Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska similarly warned of the threats of Iran posing a nuclear weapon. President Trump is protecting America. Lindsey Graham, anyone want to guess what they thought? We'll just skip Lindsey Graham. I think you guys all know what Lindsey Graham thought. Lindsey Graham and John Bolton right now are popping champagne. They are going crazy. John Bolton right now, he's 3 lines deep. Senator John Cornyn of Texas. President Trump made the courageous and correct decision to eliminate the Iranian nuclear threat. Okay, well, I think that's enough, you know, brown-nosing for President Trump at this moment about his brave, courageous action to continue the same behavior as all the other swamp folk.
A curd is a curd.
Ghost of Nestor Makhno has donated $5. Brett McGurk on CNN defending these strikes. Most pushback from Democratic leadership has been about the process and not the strikes themselves.
This feels like it could be another Iraq. Here's the thing. There is a pathway possibly for negotiations. We won't know probably for years after this is done. Maybe sooner, considering we're living in the information age and such, and people might want to publish their memoirs right away or something. Definitely since, you know, this Trump administration, a lot of its officials, Trump has a bad record of people jumping ship and then publishing books against him, you know, so you never know. But I didn't believe that it was going to succeed, not only because the Israelis wanted to kick the teeth in of the Iranians. They wanted to use this moment when Hezbollah had fallen on the sword for Assad. Assad then fell, and then they fell on the sword against the Israelis. Hamas got its teeth kicked in. The Houthis are too far away to have a significant enough influence in deterring the Israelis and all of their actions. So they've been playing, you know, Blackbeard and in the sea, they hijacking civilian ships. So none of this is enough of a deterrent against Israel. So Israel already wants this. And the Israeli government couldn't be more hawkish on the issue. Anyway, the American government, they, on one hand, could accept the Iranians putting some limitation on enrichment, XYZ, But I don't know if you guys remember Trump back in 2015 and how he talked about the Obama negotiations with the Iranians. The way he talked about the Obama negotiations with the Iranians wasn't just, hey, I don't like that Iran could get a nuclear weapon. And so I just wish this was like slightly more stringent on the conditions for monitoring. Or no, his critique was not only in the monitoring, it was also in the fact that we unfroze Iranian assets. So we told the Iranians that, if you don't get an atomic weapon, we'll unfreeze your assets. You'll get the money that was frozen by the United States. When people talk about Obama delivering cash to the Iranians, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the unfreezing of Iranian state assets that goes back to like the 70s and 80s. So we have a staff, and they're all throwing information at me. But the take back in early Trump was Obama was weak against the Iranians, not only because of this, like, whatever on the monitoring, but it was also because they didn't stop funding the proxies. That the nuclear deal did not just need to touch, whether or not the Iranians could get enriched uranium and then get delivery systems to deliver that enriched uranium on warheads to targets across the Middle East, which, could take however long. Right now, we have no clue because we have an administration that is post-truth. And so trying to understand what the administration is trying to say out of like, fuck you liberals at a press conference, soy woke. Like, and like outside of that at a press conference, you can get very little information. And from Trump himself, he's a notorious liar. So it's hard to believe really much from the Trump administration. So I have to rely on the intelligence community headed by Tulsi Gabbard. It's very difficult. But there is some scientific consensus when it comes to the Iranians. We had 60% enriched, and how it's easier to get from 60% enriched to 90% enriched than for example, 0 to 5% or 5% to 60%. So there is a consensus that the Iranians could pursue an atomic weapon, that their missile technology is improving, and them getting a delivery system for it is within their capacity, that they haven't abandoned the idea in its entirety. Like that, like we don't have a guarantee. Like this is not true that they've abandoned this idea entirely. So there's some consensus here that the Iranians want to go towards a nuclear weapon, and so for the United States government, they could, whether or not it's 3 months or 3 years, they could just make the crisis go now, strike Iran now, because Iran's at its weakest, and Trump always wanting to shut the fuck up, always wanting to God damn, you really, 1 second. Oh God, that's what you stopped me for? This bullshit, you son of a bitch. Trump posted an American flag, guys. Thank you. We got a really in-depth explanation for the president of, where troops are at risk, or through, the Iraqi militias could be firing rockets on us right now on our bases. American flag, USA, woo. USA, woo. Stop. Sorry, but I need to concentrate. Okay, so I understood that Trump had this position back then, and Trump is supported by the base in the House, in the Senate, that could never, ever see Iran get a nuclear weapon. We're talking about the pro-Israeli base, the people who are not going to allow Israel to have to face a nuclear Iran, period, end of paragraph. Never, never. And so Trump has to know he can stop that. And right now, Iran's at its weakest. So he could negotiate with Iran and allow a percentage chance that the Iranians could still try to attempt to pursue nuclearization, either after his administration or in some capacity, like in secret, if they wanted to violate it later. And if they wanted to violate it later, even openly, and they would give the American government a chance to respond, it could be at a point when they're responding that, hey, now the Iranians are back on their feet. Hezbollah is back on its feet. Now they've got, the Houthis in a much better position to leverage their control over this area. to leverage their control over, this airspace, whatever it is. If they're in a better position down the line, and now they still retained the atomic infrastructure at these facilities, that's a percentage chance he doesn't have to deal with if he just goes through with the strikes now with these B-2 bombers. And right now, you got to understand, he hasn't had many successes on the foreign policy stage. When you listen to him talk about his successes, he talks about the Congo, and he talks about stopping a war between India and Pakistan, which I just want to tell you guys, while I have read reports that they were involved in some intermediary action, and that's true, and you can call it commendable, you can call it whatever it is, I don't believe that the bigger percentage chance was India, Pakistan going to war, and there was a lot of incentives there on the table for India and Pakistan not to go to war, including their capitals not being an active radiation zone. So with those motivations on the table for these two atomic powers, I would say the cards were always, on Trump's side. So when it comes to dealing with an actual international crisis that could really be credited to Trump, that the press might have to give him credit for, and that he can go to the American people and really show him like the results of his work, because nobody in America is like, oh, thank you, Trump, for India, Pakistan. Thank you, Trump. Yes, no, nobody's saying that. If he was able to disable the Iranian nuclear program and not deal with a particularly harsh amount of blowback in one fell swoop, that's a Trump W. It could be a Trump W that they can deliver up come the midterms, come the near future, just like Soleimani was for them. Which they dealt with relatively low blowback comparative to what they took out. American soldiers were still wounded, which he purposefully downplayed on live TV as the brave protector of the troops as he is. He just, God protect him. God saved him on that day when he was going to be assassinated and guided that bullet towards that father and firefighter instead for whatever fucking reason. I hate the way he talks about it. God saved me that day, and he killed the firefighter. He killed why wouldn't he just nudge it a little bit further? It's very annoying. This chosen by God, I really despise it. People believe it too. Khomeini is gonna get you at night, Dylan. Well, with the type of tweets that I've been reading, maybe. But actually, one second. There's some other ones here that. Where is it? Is this all people responding to? Yes. 1 second. Where is it? I need to find the other tweet from Khomeini, the post-Lord, the post-God. And then we can read Trump's statement. Under proper training, a teacher may raise a scientist serving mankind thousands of years, while improper training may raise a Hitler. Wise words. Man has a responsibility to understand a woman's needs and feelings and must not be neglectful towards her emotional state. It's funny coming from him, honestly. From him specifically. I'm not into cinema and visual arts, but when it comes to poetry and novels, I'm not just a typical audience. #books, #avid reader. You can't leave all tasks to your wife and then criticize her, even if she's a scientist/politician. Yet when interacting within family, she's a flower. Interacting within family, she's a flower. Your wife is a flower, avid reader, naughty and playful. Don't be Hitler, Khomeini. Let's read Trump's statement. We have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. I don't know how he would say it, but I know he wouldn't say it correctly. Neither would I. All planes are now outside of Iranian airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for attention to this matter. I'm sorry, but could you imagine to us, okay? Pearl Harbor. Japan comes over, bombs our ships, bombs all those planes in Hawaii. Terrible. They're getting, they might attack the Philippines, but exclude that. Let's just say they just did Pearl Harbor. America reacts in horror to their sovereignty being attacked, to their nation being attacked, and the Japanese come out and say, bombs dropped. Woo, we're warriors. Anyway, America, peacetime. Now is the time for peace. It just reads so poorly. I would prefer braggadocious Trump in this moment. I would prefer him like the Iranians must know that if they respond, we will do X, Y, and Z, rather than him coming out and like holding out a flower like he's just an innocent boy. What did he do? All he did was bomb a little Iran. He's just an innocent boy. An innocent boy. Is Tulsi, what are you sending me? No, oh yes, I'm looking at Tulsi Gabbard's No War with Iran t-shirts, which you can get on the Tulsi Gabbard campaign website. If anybody wants to go get those, I'm just looking at it over there. The No War with Iran Tulsi Gabbard t-shirt, the top intelligence official in the country, by the way, top intelligence official in the country. I would prefer Trump saying something like, now is the time for Iran to come to the table. Not come to, I mean, I get the idea, but come to the table because we will defend these bases. When he just comes out with a flower, it just seems silly when he should be, he just bombed a country. You just bombed something. It comes off as tone deaf. And definitely when it's all capitalized, just his little quirks make it even sillier. Very difficult to read a Trump tweet and take it seriously, even when it's about starting a war. My goodness. Definitely when he follows this up, what's the next post by Trump? Oh, it's just a big old American flag. Trump has told Axios journalists, I can't read these because I have to keep bending backwards and getting out of the camera shot. Danbo's going to kill me. I can't read it. No, this is in the way. This other camera, you have like 3 monitors up. We have an excessive amount of monitors. We have a real, just abusive amount of monitors. Honestly, we are draining so much electricity from the armed forces. We are the cause of every tactical failure out here, us specifically, from the amount of energy that we are zapping in this room. From all of the incubators, all of the Kuwaiti incubators. Okay. President Trump told Axios journalist Barack Ravid, we had great success tonight. Your Israel is much safer now. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so fucking pathetic, dude. Oh, our country. Oh, fucking. Look, if your message is America first, then your message is America first. Okay, that's your message. Okay, and I'm not even saying that you can't serve America first through serving other countries. I think somebody can be like somebody through this peace through strength philosophy and support Ukraine. I don't think that's impossible. I think you have, it tends not to be the case because I think there's a few lacking principles in whatever. But if you're going to be America first, America's safer. Hey, everybody, Israel's safer now. We have troops in the region. There are American soldiers that can die in Iraq right now. There are American soldiers in Jordan. There are American soldiers throughout the Middle East. There are Iranian-backed militias like the Popular Mobilization Forces, other forces in Iraq that retain rockets, retain munitions, and if they concentrate fire on one base, I don't care how many drones that they diverted that were supposed to knock down Russian drones over here in Ukraine, they will not be able to deal with the saturation if all concentrated. I'm not even saying Iran will 100% do that. I think that the odds have not been friendly towards the humanitarians as of recent. So I'm going to say, I'm quite nervous about it. And I've expressed that nervousness before the scenario even, is now actually happening. But when we talked about it as a potential scenario, God, man. And we lead with Israel is, look, I'm not against our allies being safe or whatever, but, and this is not, and I shouldn't be reacting this crazy to a Republican talking in this manner, but you got to remember, if your whole message of campaign trail was, I'm sick of America getting screwed off, everybody sucking up all this aid, and us getting tied into these endless wars, and oh my gosh, all these neocons are going to get us in war with X, Y, and Z. They want to go bomb Iran and X, Y, and now here we are. And what's the justification? His first justification he tells any journalist is Israel is safer. Not America is safer. Israel is safer. I didn't know that the Trump train's final destination after this long, long journey was Clown Town. Let me read this next thing that's been thrown at me. The political deputy of Iran state TV IRIB said on live air that Iran had evacuated the 3 nuclear sites that the U.S. attacked some time ago. Some time ago. Let's bring up another live feed up on the stream so we have something to look at. Let's go back to Disinfo TV. Let's go back to Disinfo TV. But everyone, please know it's Disinfo TV. And all these people making poop emojis in chat are not experts, okay? Even if you can't read the Arabic, I swear, the guy with poop emojis next to Iranian flag emojis is not an expert on Iranian affairs. Very sorry. Very sorry. Okay. Was there other stuff you sent me that you wanted me to? Okay, one second. Let me check this out. I'm getting messages as well. Oh, Spider wants to come on right now and ask me a couple of questions. Oh, God, they're going to turn me into a loner box type streamer where it's going to be like half me and like half just people coming in here and talking shit. Fine, whatever. First official reaction from Crisis Management Bureau. A part of the Fordo nuclear sites facility was targeted. Okay. President Trump told Axios journalists, Barack, yeah, we already got that. So it looks like, honestly,
Shout out sunrises and sourdough.
Thank you for the $5. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My official, I'm getting official correspondence right now from my Lebanese contact in the Kiev region. 1 second. He says they're coping. He says the Iranians are coping right now. That's his official reaction to the damage that's been done. Look, if the B-2 bombers went and did this operation, I find it hard to believe that Trump would not go through and hit it as hard as possible. I mean, Trump is not a guy to underdo things. Trump is a guy to overdo things, if anything like this. Maybe if he was trying to plan a full-scale invasion, he would underdo it or something like that. He would have a type of hubris about him in the way he engages with a fuller-scale ground war. But when it comes to making things go boom, Trump philosophy gonna be bigger boom. When he was in real estate, it was taller building, wider building, dip it in more gold. The military equivalent of that is bigger boom. So if he's going to throw the B-2 bombers out there to these reactors, he's going to have them possibly doing multiple bombing runs. So my question in advance of this was not even necessarily, does Trump want to do this? I think he has domestic political motivations to do it because of what his party wants him to do, what his donors want him to do, what he has promised on the campaign trail around Iranian nuclear weapons. And when he stacked all that against those people who were like, no more forever war, we don't like the stretching of the AUMF, they just ended up being like all those people who were calling for fiscal responsibility. It doesn't beat the drum as much for Trump. So if you were voting for him off those, on those principles, expecting that from him, and you're tuning into this stream, fuck you, retard. Okay, I shouldn't say that, but I needed to get it out once, okay? I'll never use that word again. It just slipped out a little bit, but that's just my natural reaction, okay? You moron. I don't know what you expected, actually. Like this is the same Trump who escalated drone strikes and then restricted the information on it immediately upon entering office back in 2016. This is the same Trump who said, in order to fight terrorists, you got to kill the women and children, okay? So him going big and hard with a bombing response based off of some like, oh, I don't like how many people are dying in Ukraine. If that's the type of stuff you bought after 150 days of him doing nothing, then I'm sorry, your Trump ticket led to Clown Town and nowhere else. We got another response from the deputy political director of the Iranian Broadcasting Corporation. If Trump's words are true, we did not suffer a major blow because the materials were evacuated. So they're saying that the Iranians are saying that they got their stuff out. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. It's possible they were told within some time and they were able to get scientists out. It's possible they were able to get maybe some expensive equipment out, maybe even some enriched material. I have no clue. But the facility itself, the infrastructure, the investments, you cannot make an atomic bomb in like a random cave with twigs and stone. It takes a secure facility. If you want to do this safely and securely and not have a Iranian Chernobyl incident or type of atomic test fail, if you want to do this safely and you want to do it right, you need to have this infrastructure in place. And so the loss of these facilities, if true, if confirmed, will be a massive loss to the Iranian nuclear program. It will, at the very least, delay the Iranian nuclear program. Now, whether or not it will stop the Iranian nuclear program depends if the Iranians are willing to invest more money and deal with the possibility of it happening all over again, where they build new facilities, those new facilities get targeted, it continues to go down the road, that the bombing expands from these nuclear facilities, because the American government, if they get the response, if Trump gets the response, hey, we bombed the nuclear facilities, they're going to pursue it anyway. What was his reaction when the bombing in Yemen failed?
Ghost of Nestor Makhno got a Tier 1 subscription. IRGC saying, the war has begun, on Twitter at @SEPA_media.
So Trump's response when the Houthi strikes didn't do anything, which is to bomb the Houthis harder and harder and harder. And he bombed them eventually so hard that our regional commanders from like those in the Asia Pacific would say, wait a second, we are firing more missiles and munitions at the Houthis than we produce in a year. So Trump's response was to stretch it until it became an actual security issue. So if they find out that this isn't enough, then maybe his next thought is, okay, we need to destroy anything that could facilitate the program. So if you're bringing in something by this port, maybe we target a port. If you're bringing in something by this area, maybe we target this area. That doesn't mean that there isn't any more disincentives for the Trump administration. The Strait of Hormuz, if that's shut down, that will have a dastardly impact on energy prices for a man who promised to bring energy prices down. Sources tell Israeli journalist Ben Caspit that 6 to 8 U.S. B-2 bombers attacked the Fordo nuclear facility. BDA is ongoing, but the damage is enormous. This isn't the doctored video. This is just totally different thing. Oh, the one you already sent me. Oh yeah, I'm not showing it. That's fake. That's fake. I'm not even gonna put that on screen. But apparently it was 6 to 8 bombers. So maybe if it's 6 to 8 bombers, they didn't have to do multiple bombing runs, but I wouldn't have put it past them. I wouldn't have put it past them. The proxies are what I worry about. Will they hit our bases in Iraq and Syria? Yeah. So this is my main concern, and I expressed this online. I saw Brianna Wu, who I've been in the replies of recently. I don't know. She just gave a few texts that I disagreed with. I saw her saying, like, for those of you who are scared about this strike, tell me exactly where you think that we could be responded to or struck, who's going to attack us. And then she started listing all the problems with Hezbollah attacking and this place attacking and that place attacking. And I mean, yeah, it is true. And this is, I think, the motivation as to why this happened, that the Iranians are in a weakened state right now. So doing something like this there's less blowback. There's just less likely blowback from the Iranians. But that doesn't mean there's none. Again, the Houthis still exist and they still swing. And I expect them to continue to swing through this process, but also Iranian-backed militias in Iraq, which are closest to our bases, that are also in Iraq. And so there's a possibility that both from Iran proper, drones and missile strikes could attack those bases, and from shorter range rockets with less warning in advance, because they're not coming from Iran proper, could be shot from a local area as well. That's not to even talk about the risks that those militias could pose on a soldier by soldier basis for some of, Americans being kidnapped in some place in Iraq and ransomed or whatever. I mean, that happens. And so there is real risk to Americans in the region that I don't think should be underplayed. And it's not like the Iranians were not willing to bomb our bases before. When we killed Soleimani, they bombed our bases and wounded our soldiers. So now that we have bombed the center of the Iranian nuclear program, what is believed to be the center of the Iranian nuclear program, why should I expect that not to be on the cards, or for those soldiers not to be at risk? I mean, hell, the Trump administration admitted as much through their action of diverting the 20,000 drone interceptors from Ukraine to our forces in the Middle East. Dear colleagues, don't make another mistake in dragging our country into another war, Rashida Tlaib said. You can stop the president and the warmongers in Congress by signing onto our war powers resolution. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont decried the attack as grossly unconstitutional during a rally shortly after the president's announcement. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia cautioned the U.S. from entering the conflict, saying, "This is not our fight." Of course, Lindsey Graham worshiping the call. Marjorie Taylor Greene had a lot of bark in her bite until eventually Trump decided he was more swampier than the swamp creatures. How likely do you think Iran smuggled uranium out in between the first Israeli strikes and now? I mean, I have no clue. 2 ounces. 250. I have no clue. I don't think the entire program was blown up, if that's what you're asking. But I think it was heavily damaged. Likely. So Fordo had 6 bunker buster bombs, and Natanz and Isfahan had 30 Tomahawk missiles. The reason why is because the facilities in Natanz and Isfahan were easier targets. They were above ground, where the facility in Fordo was underground. They talked about it being dug into a mountain. And so that is something that would require more boom. And with 6 bunker buster bombs and however many bombers, they might have not even had to do 2 bombing runs. But who knows? Top Democrats on Intelligence Committee were not briefed before strikes, but the Republicans were. Oh my God. Jim Hines, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, was not briefed before the U.S. strikes on Iran, even though his GOP counterparts on the panel, Chairman Rick Crawford, was in contact with the White House per a person familiar. Also, Senator Mark Warner, the ranking Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, also was not briefed before the attack per a source familiar, but the GOP chairman, Tom Cotton, was briefed. Both Democrats are on the Gang of 8, which typically would be briefed before a significant U.S. military engagement. The Gang of 8 includes the House and Senate leaders from each party, as well as the chairmen and ranking members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees. Top Republicans on the Gang of 8, including Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, both were briefed ahead. Oh my God. So not only are we violating the War Powers Act, not only are we abusing the authorization for use of military force, which is something that other presidents have done, even though Trump has stretched it to its limits, we're also, when giving briefings to Congress, while telling Congress that they have no say in whether we bomb countries and potentially put our troops at risk or go to war with that nation, engage in behavior that is war-making, we just inform Republican leadership and don't inform Democratic leadership. And when I say Republican Democratic leadership, I do not even mean here's the Democrat leaders, here's Republican leaders, just tell them all. It is the people who are traditionally told, who are chairmen of Senate committees, who are in intelligence committees. These are the people who are supposed to take in intelligence, to analyze it, and distribute information. This is for our national safety. But for what is likely, due to Trump's record, I'm just going to be blunt, completely partisan reasons, Democrats are being kept out of the briefings, Republicans are being brought into the briefings, and mind you, this country's not, 90% Republican, 10% Democrat. It's largely split. And so when we talk about like half of the country's leadership being, possibly not in the know, when they could go inform governors, they could have their own. This This is a security risk. This is a legitimate security risk born solely out of partisan reasons. The English, oh, the English, dude, you just, don't send me this dumbass English statement. Okay, this is a problem. When you listen to Netanyahu, if I can give you guys any tip, okay, screw his English statement. On principle, I don't even want to listen to it. But now that I've already been sent the link, we'll listen to it in English. Screw his English statements. His English statements do not matter. They could not matter less than anything. What matters is whatever he says back to his people in his language. You listen to that and you get Netanyahu. And I mean that. That's not to say that you could never get anything from an English statement. Like, some of the information can overlap. You can understand what he wants the world to hear from him. But if you want to know what he thinks, if you want to know what he's preparing Israel for, you listen to what he says to Israelis in their language. You listen to what he says in Hebrew. Okay, let's listen to him.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace. President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel thank you. The forces of civilization thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. And may God bless our unshakable alliance, our unbreakable faith.
Well, breaking news, Benjamin Netanyahu happy the United States bombed Iran. I know that was not the outcome anyone expected, but it's the outcome we got. We got real footage. We got real footage of the bombing. Now, this is not of Fordo's. This is of the Tomahawk cruise missiles hitting Isfahan, one of the above-ground nuclear facilities. So let's see. I think there's one more clip here. You can see some lighting up here, but there's not much to go off of, but you can see the flashes in the distance. Which is how most people see war, is from this. From most major populations, this is how they see war, from a distance, hearing the explosions like this. Yeah. And you want to know how I know this is real footage? Because it's boring. That's the best way you can know the footage is real. If it's boring as fuck, that the possibility of it being real is up 90% instead of some gigantic mushroom cloud. Yeah, but no, this has been geolocated, so this is real. This is real footage of the cruise missile strikes. But of course, what everybody's waiting for, the big bunker busters, the big bunker buster clips. Everybody wants to see that. That's what everybody's waiting for. We're gonna get straight to the Trump segment. Let's listen to what the big man has to say, boys.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General...
I'm sorry. I'll let this finish, but what a... No military could have gotten a really big bomb. Nobody ever figured out bigger bomb, bigger boom, and drop from bigger plane. Nobody. But the United States has figured out big. Sorry.
General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say, we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless...
I'm sorry. I don't usually laugh so much at the dedication to the God, but the way he said that was so fun. It wasn't like, I love our Lord and Savior. It was like, I just want to quickly say, I love you, God. What? I got to hear that again, actually. One more time.
I want to just say, we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's that. Well, now it all depends upon what happens next. If our bases are fired upon and we go from there, it could end up being a disaster. If the Iranians are in a position where really they can just go blow to blow with the Israelis and not do much more, and they make that decision to do something like last time and maybe try to avoid killing a soldier, give some forewarning, do it in a way that can, I don't know. I mean, it could have killed a soldier last time too, though. It's not easy. You can't really control over that too hard if you're firing rockets into somebody's base that are not that accurate, that for 100% sure it's not going to, like, it could, like, so what exactly is going to transpire from this? I'm not sure, Because even if they tried to like measure their response some bit, if a soldier's sitting in a porta potty and a porta potty gets hit by a rocket, the soldier's dead, you know? There's not really much you can do to control for that. Even if you give warning of something like that happening, like it could still happen, decreases the likelihood. But if soldiers die from this, Trump has been able to, I can't believe I'm saying this, Trump has sold that a wounded soldier wasn't that big of a deal last time when our bases were attacked. I think he, considering his record, might do that again. But if there is a response and our bases are fired upon, period, there's going to be an immediate call for response, especially after a statement like this. And so any firing upon our bases is a security risk that not only, risks the lives of the soldiers on those bases, but also risks a escalatory response from a president who certainly would like to blow some stuff up.
Immoral, morally corrupt, bankrupt man.
So I am not surprised that this happened.